get some superhero news because it's the year 2015 and you can't not have that. Let's see. There's the news that Hulk is going to be in the new Thor movie. They might go on a cosmic road trip together. This morning we heard news that Fox had finally said screw it and they're handing over the Fantastic Four to Marvel and Disney. And apparently Marvel and Netflix are possibly developing a Moon Knight series. So while we could have talked about one of these things, screw it. Adam, who's your favorite superhero and why?
What's favorite superhero? Is it fair? Because this was actually like the first comic book I got really into. It was actually, I didn't get into it until I was probably about 12, 13.
Yeah.
But it was The Shadow. It used to be, there used to be a radio serial that Orson Welles did.
Because you had those Howard Chaykin comics, right?
Right. There was Howard Chaykin did a run, then Bill Sienkiewicz did. Andy Helfer wrote the Sienkiewicz. But the first one I got was when, I love this artist. His name is Kyle Baker. Just really, especially it was like 1987, 88. Dynamite actually has been republishing them, so they're available digitally and I guess physically. Is that what we call that now?
Organically, I don't know.
Organically, I think that's it.
Anyway,
Anyway, it was just nutty art and a really, really black sense of humor. Because it was the idea of taking the Shadow, the 1930s hero who kind of killed the bad guys.
Yeah.
And he comes back to New York in the mid-1980s. And all the people that are kind of working for him were kind of horrified by the fact that, like, you know, some of them are like social workers. Like, you just can't go out and kill people anymore. And it's really funny. And I just thought he's a cool, you know, superhero who.
Did you listen to the old radio programs before this? Like,
yes,
did you have any
when I was a kid. I was a very lonely kid.
Yeah.
So like 1930s radio serials were like kind of where I found my comfort.
You look like
that, and I ate Necco wafers.
Wow, you look
As
like
candy.
You look like the adult version of a child who ate Necco wafers and listened to radio dramas. So I think it's really interesting you say The Shadow. We've actually, I think, talked about this before a little bit. The Shadow got a movie in like 1993.
Yeah,
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, really weird.
Really hairy. Really hairy in that movie.
Really, that was not
a great movie.
Not a good movie.
Well, that was a weird time for, like, now we've got all these superhero movies that are like superhero movies. That was in the wake of
that was
Tracy,
the earlier, but no. But that's like when the Spawn movie came out.
Yeah.
There were some attempts.
Way before that. That was, I would say, in the wake of Batman, because Batman was the first kind of.
Right.
There was Batman, and then we got the Rocketeer, and we got the Shadow, and we got the Mask, and
this,
kind of.
There was the Mask. What was the one with Val Kilmer in purple?
The Phantom.
Oh, the Phantom.
The
Yeah.
Phantom.
Kilmer,
That was right around that
Billy
same
Zane.
time.
Yeah,
It might have been Billy Zane.
But there was all this stuff that was like, hey, let's take these, like, you know what'll resonate with today's youth? Stuff from the 30s.
Yep.
Exactly.
And it was just like, what are you doing?
Was it like a, you know, did the copyright thing just pass? I know when like a certain amount of, it's like 70 years or something, stuff goes like free reign.
Yeah, except that hasn't been happening. Like, I don't think any copyright has been respected when it's supposed to retire in the past 20 years. I think also, like, having worked in television, the people at the top of studios and organizations like that, they're not really in touch with the youths.
Right.
And
I like that you
sometimes
went
some
with
really odd decision making can happen, such as, you know, hey, the Esquire channel sounds good.
That was a My Cousin Vinny use, right? I just think it's very odd that they were like, we're going to do Dick Tracy and the Phantom and the Shadow, and I was like, you know, 12, 13 at the time, being like, what?
Yeah.
All right.
It's really
this
weird
looks
'cause,
cool. I'll buy the
you know,
toys.
like
also-
12 years later, well, I guess around that same time.
I don't know if they were actually aimed, you know, at a youth market. The youth market, you know, the Avengers is for a lot of people, but obviously it appeals to teenagers. When I was growing up, there were movies that were specifically for teenagers, like War Games. Like, you know, no one, if you were over the age of 30 and went to go see War Games, the FBI would probably put you on a watch list.
Well, now we call them the Hunger Games, so.
Exactly, yeah.
But I mean, like, it's weird because we also got like the kind of, the stuff that was inspired by the Shadow and things like that. It's like Sin City, you know?
Yeah.
The Spirit and other things that Frank Miller has done with hats. Yeah, anyway, that's cool.
Is he still making that Batman thing again?
Sorry, say again?
Frank Miller, is he still doing like that Dark Knight thing?
Yeah.
Didn't
yeah,
he like call
yeah.
it like the Master Race? And it's like, but Mr. Miller, we're all kind of aware of what you've been doing the past 15 years.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's not the biggest secret in the world.
That wasn't the zenith of decision making, I would say.
Yeah. So
No.
I mean, I'm curious about that because Miller's he's getting old. Like he doesn't look
And
so hot these
cranky,
days.
and a little questionable.
He's always been cranky. But now it's like him and God, what's the artist? I'm totally drawing a blank on the artist names. I think it's Brian Malkowitz, but he works here.
Yeah. So is the Shadow still your favorite superhero just because like you kind of grew up around
There's a
that?
lot of nostalgia. I mean, you know, I read a ton of comic books, but other than trying to keep, you know, pace with Batman because I really like Snyder and his writing, nothing's really kind of grabbing me right now. It's a lot more of kind of the crime stuff. Southern Bastards, I think, is just like one of the best comic books being written out there right now. And
I ran into you on the street in my neighborhood maybe a couple months ago, a year ago, and you were going to Isotope. Right?
Oh yeah,
comic book shop.
If you're ever in San Francisco, check out
yes.
Isotope.
Yeah,
It's
very
awesome.
cool. Go in
really
there.
cool guys work there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy who owns it looks like Doctor Strange.
He is Doctor Strange. A lot of people don't know that.
Wears a zoot suit and has a cool handlebar mustache.
That's right.
But it's a PhD doctor, not a DDS or
Which is-
one of those other MD doctors.
Which is bad, right? To have like a strange
Good to know.
regular doctor.